out and being here today. CCS Learning Academy is the professional training division of the CCS Global Tech, a 28 years old full service IT consulting firm. We help business to build their teams with skill tech professionals depending on their project needs. We also help them by upskilling, reskilling their workforce on the latest technology trends, professional development, and leadership training. We offer a wide range of innovative technology solutions, training, and career placements. My name is Rajbir Singh, manager at CCS Learning Academy, and I have been in technology and professional training sector for over a decade. I work with students, organizations, and leaders for their professional development. We will be running a live Q&A at the end of the webinar. So we have enabled our Ask a Question feature. It is on the bottom of your screen. If you have any question, just put them in there. Today, we have well-respected subject matter expert, trainer, and a speaker who is MCSA certified business intelligence developer with over 12 years of work experience in information technology and service industry. She is also specialized in SQL, BI Stack, Power BI, TFS, SharePoint, Microsoft CRM, data analyst. So please welcome Gayathri Janagama. I will hand over to Gayathri now. Gayathri, you can take it up from here.
Thank you so much for the brief introduction. A very good afternoon, good morning to everyone. Thank you everyone for joining this webinar. In today's session, as you already got a very basic intro about what we are going to see that is driving your company's growth with Power BI as business intelligence. Before we start, let me just give you a brief introduction about myself. I'm Gayathri. I've been in this IT industry, training, instructing for over more than a decade now. And I'm an MCSA certified professional with over 12 years of experience. And also I have an MCT certification. So I specialized majorly in SQL, BI Stack, Power BI, TFS, SharePoint, and data visualization tools like Tableau as well. So in this session today, the main agenda is going to be divided into two parts, where we will be talking about the importance of the data visualization, how it is going to play the major role in a company's business decision, and what is the purpose of it, and how we will be bridging the gap between the data and a business decision, and how the tools, especially the Power BI, which is the most powerful and innovative tool, which is currently in much use in the market, how is that tool helpful for us to generate the valuable insights? So this webinar is going to be a practical as well as a conceptual webinar. Initially, we're going to talk about the details of it. And then towards the end, I will be giving you a small demo of how this tool is going to help us build the visuals. So before we actually jump into the details of what is data visualization, let us try to understand what exactly is a business data and what kind of business decisions can be made. As you see, every company, irrespective of being the size of the company, whether it is a small, medium, or a large-based company, data plays a major key role. Even for us, if we want to maintain some history of information, data plays a major key role. So this is called as a business data, which could be related to their employee information. It could be related to their products or the sales. They can do a forecasting. So any kind of data related business data information which a company holds, there should be a proper modeling done to that in order for the company to make a business decision. Because people cannot directly read a raw data and understand from the data, which will be a combination of numbers, alphabets, numerics. It could be in the form of a table, or it could be in a non-tabular format. So a raw data, there could be multiple structures to this data. So in order for us to understand and give a proper modeling to this data, which will help us in a proper business decision, we will be using some of the tools that are available, and also to model the data and also to transform the data. So what kind of business decisions can be made out of this business data. So a company primarily runs on a fiscal year basis, or maybe they have their own financial year or an yearly calendar basis. Based on that, the company budgeting can be decided how well they are doing on the previous year when compared to the current year, or the estimations of the company, like, the forecasting, what can be done next. That is like, planning ahead. And some kind of business decisions, which will be like maybe continuing an employee, like promoting an employee, or maybe see what are the key factors that are affecting their company in order to go towards like an increasing path. So all such kind of business decisions can be easily modeled using the business data. So now we know that we have business data and there is a business decision that the company has to make. But what is the bridge to how do we bridge the gap? So the data is a technical format and the decision is a non-technical. So how this bridge can be made in between these two categories. So now, when we talk about bridging the gap between these two, we have to first of all properly understand what is the user requirement, what kind of business data do we have. So that based on the requirement, if we know what the decisions have to be made, what business decision have to be made, then we will be appropriately using whatever the data is available in the appropriate way. For example, if I want to make a business decision on promoting an employee, because that employee has been working with my company for a pretty long time, and I want to award him or her with a nice incentives, and also promoting or also pay like, give a salary hike. So I have multiple factors I have to look into. For me, I know that employee has been doing a good job, but my business data is going to help me to like go through the employee history and see what all projects that employee has gone through, what all the appreciations that he or she been receiving over a period of time, how well they have reached the timelines when delivering a project. So all this information will be captured in the form of a table or even in a not tabular format, which we are calling it as a business data, so that I can make a proper business decision. So now there should be a proper media or a medium to bridge the gap between the data and a decision that needs to be made. So, in order to make that gap a wider and make it user interactive, we have the concept of data visualizations. So, it's always easy to go through the images rather checking out like the tables or maybe just reading through paragraphs of information. Because even if you see any storybooks or maybe especially with the kids storybooks, we know that the kids love images. The storybooks what kids are reading, it has got all the characters in it, and there is some context, like there is some text next to the characters. So why do we have that? Because the kids imagine themselves in that character, and then they will understand the story in a better way. In a similar fashion, by giving a raw data, we cannot generalize and we cannot make a proper analysis of what we are doing and making a business decision correctly or wrong. If I convert that raw data into a meaningful visual, that will help the company for faster and better analysis, and also which will help them to make a proper decision. So that is the power of a data visualization which will come into picture. We are calling it as data visualization because here we are representing the data in the form of different visuals. So now, what exactly is this data visualization and how important is that? Like as I have already mentioned, it's a pictorial representation of data. As you're seeing on the screen here, I have some numbers and I have some charts displayed on the screen. But if you see carefully, looking at the numbers, I get an overview of, okay, the total volume is 50K. Okay, the market share is 32.86%. But if I want to know more details of, okay, where am I putting this market share? From which particular category am I getting market share, or how many total units I have sold over an year. So all that detailed level of information can be displayed in the form of these visuals, which are summarized values, and they will give you the appropriate information. So now, whenever we are using the data visualization, it provides insights and key aspects in more intuitive and meaningful ways. Like as I mentioned, it is going to model the data and put in all the required data in the form of visuals. Now, looking at the very first visual on the screen, it's a line chart, and this line chart clearly depicts us where the graph is going down and when the graph is coming up for that particular share and in that particular month. So, looking at that, I understand that okay, there is a dip in the month of June or July, and I'm like doing pretty good in the month of March. So, with the one site, I can quickly have and easy information from whatever the visual I'm looking into. That is the third pointer here, which is quick and easy way to convey concepts or information in a universal manner. If I give this presentation, this particular screenshot to my user, they can easily understand from the visuals what is going on this particular data visualization report. So that is what a data visualization is, which will be converting the data into a meaningful pictorial representation. So now, why is this data visualization important? And what are the main advantages of it? So now we know what is data visualization. We know it's a pictorial representation. Now let's see why it is important. The very first and simple point is analyzing complex data, because a business data can comprise of, like as I told you, in a different formats. It could be an Excel file, a raw file, a flat file, even some SQL tables, or it could be a combination of RDBMS, DBMS, or even it could be data something which is on the SharePoint or on the internet as well. So these data which are coming from different sources have to be combined together and then make a proper analysis on top of it. If we have to do that, we can still do it on the SQL end, but which requires a lot of querying. And we don't expect our users to know this hardcore querying. So we convert that into a simple visual for which they can easily make an analysis. So that is our very first point, which is analyzing the complex data. Where complexity here doesn't mean that the data itself is complex, but we are bringing it from different sources, and the volume of the data can also be complex. And then identifying the patterns and extracting valuable insights. So with the data, I know what exactly the user wants to see. So if I want someone to know what are the sales, what is the revenue, can you please forecast my revenue over the next 2 years? I know what is their uh, insight. I know what exactly they want to see on the report. So based on the data which I already have, I can convert that into a valuable insight, and I can represent it in that respective visual. Then coming to the third point, it's simplifying complex information and presenting it visually for easy decision making. So this is the major point where anyone can interact with the data. See, it's not only the technical people who can always interact with the data, but even a non-technical person who knows the concept of visualization can easily understand by looking into the report and know what the data is replicated as and what kind of information are they seeing from that images. So which will help them to understand and correlate the things of how the visuals will help them in making a proper business decision. So by making these visuals intact with the different data that we are extracting from various sources, the company can make an effective and accurate and quick decisions. So now we have so many data visualizations tools available in the market. And today in our session, we are going to talk majorly on Power BI. So now the question may come, why Power BI? What is the main purpose of it? And how is it like ruling the market with other visualization tools that are already available? So to give you a very brief about the Power BI, it's a data visualization tool, like as I've been telling, and it helps us to create the reports and as well as the dashboard. A dashboard is a summarized information that can be replicated on one single page, whereas a report can be displayed on multiple pages. So now this Power BI is a desktop application. It is a stand-alone application which can be installed easily with a quick 1 or 2 step process, and the installation will also not take much time. And as I'm calling it as a standalone, because it has got its own dedicated services where we can publish our work, that is our report, and then from there onwards we can keep on sharing it with our company or the organization. So here this Power BI, when Microsoft has introduced it, they made it a powerful modeling, transforming and a self-service BI tool which will accept the data, it can extract the data from different sources, it can model, transform the data and then make a model from which we can start creating our data visualizations and the reports. So this Power BI is also an cloud application where the Active Directory of your company have access to this Power BI services so that if I want to share my reports or the dashboards, either I can do it with an entire organization or else I can do it with individual people or a group of people. So let's dig more deeper into this Power BI and see what are the features and what are the advantages and why this tool can be used for making a proper business decision in data visualization. So now, as I've been giving you a very brief intro about Power BI, this is a Power BI architecture where we have two applications. The first one is a Power BI desktop. That is a desktop application which will help us to build a report, that is design the report, and it will help us to extract the data from the sources. So Power BI has got very types of sources from where you can bring in the data, be it an RDBMS, DBMS, cloud, files, folders, internet, SharePoint, Facebook, Twitter, GitHub, name the source, you have it in Power BI. And one good thing about this Power BI is Microsoft has been updating this Power BI since the time they have launched it every month with new updates so that the tool has become so powerful and there are so many improvements that have been made on this tool. And every month with an update, a new source is being added to the Power BI source grid. So here we can connect the data from hundreds of data sources and we can then create the report on Power BI desktop and publish that report on Power BI services, which is a cloud platform. And from there, we can create the Power BI gateways, which will help us to automate the refresh of our reports. Because once the reports have been published, we want the reports to always have the live data. So in order to do that automations, we will publish the reports and create the gateways so that they will be connected to the on-premises or the cloud services to refresh the data. And from there onwards, we can give access to either the entire organization or individual people and group via email or via SharePoint, or even we can publish to a web all the reports and the work that we do, and the users can access them on their personal phones, tablets, or laptops or their machines, computers. They have like multiple layouts available in Power BI, which will automatically adjust the layouts to whatever the medium they are looking into. So that is a Power BI tool which is provided by Microsoft. And now, as I mentioned, this is a self-service BI tool. Why we are calling it as a self-service? Because it has got an internal transformation tool inbuilt in it. So the data that we are getting from multiple sources may not be clean, may not be properly profiled. Profiled in the sense it may have a different set of formats. So whenever we are trying to build a report with all this data, we want to make sure the report gets and cleaned and profiled information to it so that a proper analysis can be done. For example, I may have a data coming in with lots of nulls or with lot of blank values, or maybe some columns are combined. So in this case, what happens when I'm trying to represent this raw data directly on my visuals can't capture the nulls or the blanks. So there is some discrepancy in the data, which will not have a proper analysis done at the end of the day. So for that reason, before even I create a model in Power BI, I have to model that particular data by transforming, profiling, and cleansing using an inbuilt tool in Power BI Desktop, which is called as a Power Query. So this Power Query editor will help us to transform the data so that it is going to represent as an appropriate information on the different visuals. So now, with the help of this Power BI, the very last point here, data driven culture. So what we are trying to do here, we are trying to drive a data culture from insight to action. So we know what we want, how we want the report to be built, what visuals we want to use. We have a basic idea of it. We have an insight of it. And then with the help of this tool, we are putting them into action by exactly creating those visuals and depicting the data on those visuals. So now why we have to use Power BI? So that's a question because we have so many tools available in the market, so many dashboarding tools available in the market. Why Power BI? The very first important thing is it's a simple tool. It gives you an exact interface like an Excel spreadsheet. So everyone should be familiar with an Excel, the basic Excel. So the Power BI gives you an interface of an Excel spreadsheet and it will build the reports in minutes. You will be seeing that in the demo, how fast we can build a report in Power BI. So it supports wide range of data sources. As I've mentioned, every now and then there will be an update of Power BI and few data sources have been added. And now I see a lot more data sources have been added. When the initially Power BI was launched, there were only, I could say, hardly 20 to 30. Now we have more than hundreds of data sources that Power BI supports. And the good part of Power BI is it even supports data blending and cross database join. So what is this data blending? Data blending is nothing but you can blend the data from multiple sources at the same time. For example, I can bring one data from RDBMS SQL maybe. I can bring another set of data from a CSV file. I can bring another set of data maybe from a website. So these three are three different sources. I can still extract these three data, put it in the Power Query editor, transform the data, and make it one common model which will support my report. So that is data blending. So Power BI supports data blending and it can get connected to the data in three different formats. Either it could be an import mode where it will literally import the data into the cache, or it can be connected directly because whenever we are importing, we have to worry about the space. We can't do an import for a larger data sets. So in that case, we have another option, which is a direct query mode that will help us to directly connect to the source. We are not bringing in anything to the cache. It is like kind of a live. The third option that we have is a live connection, which is usually used for analysis services, that is cube and tabular model development. So we have different sources and we have different data connectivity modes as well that we can connect with these sources. The third point here is perform data wrangling operations. Like as I told you, it is called as a self-serve BI tool because it has internally got this Power Query editor, which will help us to model, transform, profile, and cleanse the data. So we are getting the real-time information here because we are connecting live to the sources so that we can get the real-time information. And whenever there is a data refresh, automatically the reports will also refresh with that data. Easy to collaborate. It is very easy to collaborate with the users in the organization and also other medium because this Power BI, once the report has been published to the cloud, from there you can share it with your entire organization or the people even outside the organization by just publishing your work, that is your report, to a public portal. We can even do that. And it has an AI infused experience in it because it will have an Q&A setup that we can configure where the user can ask a question and it will present the data in the form of a visual as an answer. And you can use Python, you can use R scripts, everything inside the Power BI. And with the latest updates of Power Platform, which includes Power Automate, Power Pages, and Power Apps, there is a lot of automation that can be done and a lot of data flows pipelines can also be created using the Power Platform. And coming to the very important part, because we have so many features in one tool, we should be always worrying, okay, what would be the cost? But don't worry about the cost, it is very cost effective. So Power BI comes with three different licensing. It comes with a basic, a pro, and a premium license. So basic is a free basic license and it doesn't require any money or anything that has to be given. It's a free license. But here in the basic, there are few limitations because every licensing comes with few limitations. All the administration or the service level informations cannot be done at the basic level, basic license. Then we have a pro license, which is good. And most of the companies usually go with the pro license because everything, most of the things can be done in the pro license when it comes to Power BI services, sharing the reports, publishing them, or creating the gateways. All such kind of things can be done with the pro license. And finally, the premium license, which is the highest level of license. This has got some added advantages of sharing the nodes, the cloud spaces, and everything. More management administration can be covered under the premium license. So these licensing, like pro license, would be around $9.99, around $10 per month per user. And similarly, the premium license initially Microsoft was offering it as a node basis, how many users. It was creating so many nodes, and we used to pay for the node. But now, even for the premium license, they have introduced a user-based monthly subscription. If you want, you can register for monthly subscription. For basic, it is a free licensing. So each one of the license, whenever you download your Power BI, automatically you will download the pro version, and you will get initially a 60 days free trial. And if you want, you can even renew the trial. You can extend your trial for another 60 days. Either you can give a trial for a pro or a premium. You'll be seeing what kind of a licensing you are using on the Power BI services. So now let's quickly get into a demo. I hope you understood so far like what exactly the Power BI is. But now let's put our insights, whatever we have discussed so far, into an action so that you will have a clear picture of why we are using this Power BI, and all the bullet points that we were talking about building the reports in minutes. We can quickly have a demo on that. So this is the Power BI desktop application. So whenever you install the Power BI, the Power BI desktop application will be installed on your machine, and you can actually create a report, but you have to always sign in with your office email. The Power BI doesn't accept any Hotmails, Gmail, or anything of that sort. It always accepts your office email or maybe your school email. The main reason behind that is once you log in with your credentials, your Power BI will go and sit on the Active Directory of the company or the school, so that you will have access to each and every person that you want to share the report with. So this is the main homepage. You can click on the new report here. So when you click on the new report, this is how the interface of the report is going to look like. So as you see, we have a report pane. This is what is called as the report pane, where we are going to add the data, that is convert our data into a meaningful visuals. And then we have a data pane where, or a table view, which will help us to see the data, because though we are bringing in the data from a website, still the data will be converted in the form of a table inside Power BI. So we have want to, if you want to see what kind of information you have in that table, what are the columns and everything, what is the data type of the column, you can see that in the table view. And this is a model pane, which is a very important and a key factor to do the analysis in Power BI, because though we are bringing the data from different sources, as Power BI supports data blending, we want to make sure these tables are connected with each other. If the tables are individual, if they are not correct connected, that means if there is a no relationship between the tables, the Power BI cannot analyze the data, give you proper analysis. Because only if the data is connected, I can know how my product sales are. Because my product information could be in one table and the sales information could be in another table. Only when these two tables are linked, I can show that on the image or on the visual, and I can clearly know what would be the product sales. And a recent update, even this interface of Power BI desktop you're seeing currently is the latest updated version. And every month, whenever there is an update, even the interface, if there is some structural changes, even the interface will also be updated. And recently they have added this DAX query view. So I have to tell about DAX here. So Power BI uses another language for it to create custom columns, or if you want to create any measures. Measures are nothing but the measurable columns. If you want to create any calculated columns or quantitative columns inside Power BI, it uses another language which is called as DAX. DAX. DAX stands for Data Analysis Expressions. So this DAX, it will help us to customize our data further. Because let's say the user wants to see what are the sales last year, or what are the sales this year till date, YTD sales, or last year YTD sales, or if they want to see the sales 2 years before or 2 years after forecasting. For such kind of customization, the data, whatever I have, will not be enough. So in that case, I may have to write new formulas, write some custom code here to generate those values. So for that, we will be using the DAX, and this DAX query window will help you to write a test script and see whether it is actually generating the correct result or not, so that you can implement on the model. So these are the four important panes that you have on Power BI desktop. So one very important thing that we need to discuss here is Power BI, as we know, it's a powerful data visualization tool which will help you to build a dashboard. But the desktop version of Power BI will only build a report. The dashboard will be built after you publish the report onto Power BI services. So now, as we're talking about the different panes that we have inside the Power BI desktop, let's look into the sources quickly. So when I click on the get data here, in order to start off with my presentation demo, when I click on get data, you have, these are all the common data sources that are available. So now these are the common sources, but here we have more. When you click on more, this is where you have tons of sources, hundreds of sources that we are talking about. And all these sources are further categorized. It is under all category, you have all the sources. You have a file category where you have all these different sources related to the files like SharePoint, PDF, XML, JSON, all those. And under the databases, of course, you have all RDBMS here. And you have a new Microsoft Fabric where everything has been involved in one container. You have the semantic models as well. And the Power Platform, which I was talking about, the Power Pages, Power Apps, and Power Automate, they all fall under the Power Platform. You have Azure, the cloud sources, online services, and also in the other category, you have Web, SharePoint List, OLDB, R script, Python script. So if you don't know under which category the certain source will fall under, you can directly click here and select that particular source. It automatically shows up here in this small search bar. So in today's demo, I'm going to pick a small Excel workbook and I'm going to quickly show you how fast this workbook can be converted into a appropriate visual. So I'm just selecting my Excel workbook and hit the connect button. Once it is connected, I have some bunch of Excel sheets that are provided here. I'm just selecting one of the Excel sheets and hit the open. So it is trying to connect to my Excel sheet. This Excel sheet, whatever I'm bringing in, it's currently on my premises, that is on my desktop. So it gives you an overview of how many sheets I have in this Excel file. So currently I see there are like around 7 sheets in this Excel file, but my interest is of date. Let's see. So now when I check the box on the date sheet, it gives me an overview of what all columns I have and also what kind of data I have in the columns. And then I'm clicking on the geo sheet. When I click on the geo sheet, this is where it is again giving me a preview of my sheet. And again, I'm selecting the product and sales. Here, it's up to you. You can select as many as you want from the checkboxes. If you want to load only one sheet, you can even do that. Or if you want to get the analysis from multiple sheets, you can do that. You can select all the multiple sheets. After you make your selection from this navigator pane, then if you feel whatever the data that you are getting from this sheet is not clean, is not profiled properly, or it has got some blanks or some null values like as we discussed, you can always click on the transform data button, which will automatically open the Power Query Editor. This is a Power Query Editor, which will help you to model the data. So now, as you see, we have all this information here. It exactly looks like an Excel replica. So you can just drop down the list and you can see if you have any unwanted data. For example, if I go to the product, so I see I have these 4 columns inside my product. So when I go into the manufacturer ID, I have all the numbers. I just want to make sure there are no nulls or there is nothing blank in it so that I'll not be able to display that information. So if you see here, excuse me, if you see here, I have a district, but inside the district, I have it as district hash O3. So this is how the format is. Like if I don't want this format, for example, let's say I can't display the hash on my visual, what I can do, I can simply replace it. So I can right click on that. I can simply say replace values, just like how you do it on a Word document or a simple Excel. You can search for that hash, and I want to replace it with blank, nothing in it. And I'm just hitting the OK button. So when I do that, if you see, all the hashes are gone. So now it is easy for me to show this as a column value in my visual. So like that, you can go onto any of the tables that you are pulling, not only table, like it could be any of the source that you are pulling. You can come here onto the Power Query editor even before you're loading the data. You can transform your data, model your data as per the business requirements, and then you can hit the close and apply button. When you hit the close and apply button, it is now going to transform your data into a model by loading all these tables. So now we are though pulling it from an Excel spreadsheet, it is going to load all these sheets as individual tables in new Power BI. So now currently we are loading all the 4 sheets that we have selected from the navigator pane. And even it is going to show you how many records have been loaded. And while it is loading, it will automatically detect the relationships. So now we'll move on to the model pane and check whether it has actually given the relationships or not. If you see here, it has detected the relationship between product, sales, geo, but the date table has been left alone. There is no relationship between date and any of the other 3 tables. If this is the case, my date cannot be participating in any of the visuals. Even though if it participates, it doesn't give me the appropriate information. So I have to make sure my date table is also connected to any one of these tables. So as I see a common column of date here in my sales and a date here in my date table, it's simply a drag and drop. I can directly drag and drop to create the relationship. So now, as you see, the relationship is also created. So now I can do the analysis. I can find out the sales in that particular year or in that respective month or a quarter. So that is how these relationships will play a key role. If it is not related, you try to create a relationship between the tables. So once you have the model pane and you have all the relationships appropriate, then we can again go back to the table view here and we can check individually on each and every table what kind of data we have. We can even limit the data that we don't want to see on the report. See, currently under the region column, I have a central, east and west. If I want to view only the central time zone data, I can just check the box central and hit the OK button. So my report will now only reflect the central information. So either I can do that or I can give a dynamic filtering where the user, whenever they are viewing the report, they can change the option. So whenever I click on any one of the columns, I have the respective data types and what is the format. And if I want to sort this particular column, I can even do that. So this is all like customization that you want to do before even you jump into by creating a visual. Or if you don't want any kind of customization, if you want a straightforward report, all you have to do is just load the data and pick any visual of your choice. For example, let's say this is a table. I'm just clicking on the table so it appears here. So when I click on the table, I can select what all values I want. I'm just going into the product. I'm saying I want a category and I want the product information. And then I want to see the sales for that particular product. I want to look at the revenue and the units. As you see, it is now displayed everything in one visual. So just like a summarized data on my table, but still looking at a tabular information and making a decision might be tough sometimes. So what I can do, I can convert this visual into a meaningful bar chart or a pie chart. So what I can do, I can either simply select that visual and change the visualization to a, let's say, a pie chart. Now, when I do that, is if you see, it is now generating the pie chart, but it is giving you so much of information here because I have so many fields that are going onto this pie chart. So let me adjust the fields a little bit here. So I can have the category under the product here, like this. So now if you see, I have the categories urban, rural, mix and youth, and I have the summary of revenue by category. So as I have the category and the product here, I can even implement a drill down functionality. So when I drill down further, it is giving me the product information across each and every category. So that is how quick you can represent the data. It's not only in one format that you can do, you can even have this pie chart here, copy the visual and then paste it around and just change the visual view to maybe a chart, a stacked bar chart, or maybe you can do it a clustered bar. So which will again represent the data here. So you have to know what you want on the column level or what you want at the x-axis and y-axis. If you know the user requirements, it's easy for you to showcase that information on these different visuals. And one good thing here is if you have multiple visuals on a page, you always have an option of focus mode. You can click on the focus mode of every individual and see what kind of information you have. And when you just hover your mouse, you see a small tooltip box showing up and it gives you the information here what that particular bar is representing. Here currently it is giving me a category of urban and the sum of revenue is 57 million. So it says that I have a drill down available here. I can even click on that. It takes me to the next drill down level. So this is how quickly you can build a report, but we can even add more features to it by adding a slicer. A slicer is nothing but a filtering condition, a dynamic filtering condition, which will allow the user to make a selection. For example, this is a slicer. When I add a slicer here, and when I just give the same category on the slicer, now we have these categories. When I click on urban, my visuals will interact with this filtering condition and they will represent the data accordingly. I have rural, I have urban. I can hold the control button on my machine and I can have a multiple selection for the slicers as well. So like that, there are multiple features that are available where you can represent your visuals. Along with it, you can even customize the theming of it. So Power BI even provides the theme, the palette, the color palettes and everything for even a color blinded person too. You have a color blind safe palette here as well, which will help you excuse me, which will help you to represent like, even a color blinded person can view the data. Now this is a color blind safe. When I click on that, my report interface color palettes are going to change. And even I have a theming at the background. I can select the theme. I can have it. I can insert new images and I can have custom headers, footers. It's all customization. Apart from these visuals that you already have available inside your Power BI desktop, you can still get custom visuals from the marketplace or from the Microsoft Store. All the visuals are free. What you can do is just click on the three dots here, the options, go to get more visuals, which will launch the Microsoft Store. And here you have tons and tons of visuals. And all these visuals can also be an updates that Microsoft is providing us every month. They're adding new visuals to this grid as well. So you can check on which category you want to compare the visuals, or if you know what exactly you want, you can simply select that. Let's say I want a waterfall chart, for example. If you see, when I just typed in waterfall, there are like bunch of waterfall charts have popped up. All you have to do is just like select that visual and hit the get the button add. It will give you a detailed description of what that visual is going to do and how it is going to improve the data analysis. Once the visual has been imported successfully, you have the visual here and you can start your analysis. It is just like any other visual you see in this grid. So that is how quick and how easily you can create a report. And it's very like, it's not like it's not very complicated where you have to always deal with the dirty data. The data can be clean and the reports can also be done in minutes. Now, after you have all your reports and everything done, then you can simply go on to the home page here and click on the publish button, which will help you to publish your work, whatever you have done on the desktop, to the cloud, which is Power BI services. And from there onwards, you can start sharing your work, that is your report, to the other people in the company or even publish it to a public portal. So this is a small demo about the Power BI desktop and how the reports can be done quickly in minutes. I think now the session could be open for Q&A if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Gayatri, for this great presentation and your valuable information. Now I request to the audience, please pop in your questions. If you have any question, please feel free to ask. Our instructor Gayatri will answer all your questions. Gayatri, let me see if we got any questions.
Sure.
No questions yet. Okay, we will give some more time. Let us know if anyone have any questions. Gayatri, meanwhile, I have few questions.
Sure.
What prerequisites you would like to suggest to the candidates before starting Power BI course?
So frankly speaking, this is not very hard to learn. It's an easy tool. It's a self-learning tool, I could say. But you have to understand the data and the user requirements. So the user stories, user requirements, and having a little bit of technical knowledge, because you have to know how exactly the data has to be modeled, like profiled or cleansed. That will really help to have an easy understanding of Power BI. And anyways, most of us, we already know how an Excel spreadsheet works. Having an experience on the Excel workbooks will also have a great advantage of Power BI.
All right. Okay. And Gayatri, does Power BI also have limitations or disadvantages?
Yes, limitations in the sense, like as I told you, Power BI has got like different connectivity modes. Based on the source that we are selecting, the connectivity modes changes. For example, if I'm connecting to an RDBMS, like a SQL server, my data connectivity modes would be import and direct query. So in this case, what happens is an import can only take whatever your RAM space is. If it is 10 GB, you can only get, maybe I could say, around 9 GB of data, because if you use all the resources, the other applications on your system will hang. So there is a limitation of the spacing here, the size of the data that you're going to analysis. So, but we have a direct query mode, which will help us to directly connect to the source, by which there is no limitation of the size of the data that we are dealing with. But again,
Okay.
if we are connecting a direct query mode, it has got its own limitations. As Power Query Editor I was showing you, all the transformations are not possible because the data is directly connected. We cannot transform the data. Just like how I changed the hash into a blank, I can't do that in a direct query mode.
All right. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. And Gayatri, one last question. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Gayatri, how candidates should make their decision in choosing Tableau or Power BI?
So frankly speaking, these two are competitive tools in the market currently, the Power BI desktop and the Tableau desktop. So Tableau has like a limitation of the server, because Tableau server is very expensive. Tableau licensing is expensive. Okay, both has the similar kind of interface and also the properties and also the features, whatever we have, both have similar functionalities. But what I have seen on the Power BI side is, as it is being improved on a monthly basis with more updates, there is a lot of open scope here that we can post a question and that update can be immediately implemented. So the scope of learning, and like, as this is a Microsoft tool, the SSRS, which is a existing reporting tool in Microsoft, is also integrated with Power BI. So if my firm already has an SSRS report, I need not create a Power BI report for it from scratch. It is integrated. I can directly pull it into Power BI. But for Tableau, it is not like that. As it is a cross-platform, you have to build the reports from scratch.
All right. Mhm. Okay. Thank you, Gayatri, for answering my questions. Let me have
Yeah.
a final check. if we have any questions from the audience.
Sure.
I think we are done up with the questions. There are no questions. If
Okay.
anyone have any questions, you can reach me on email. We will send you the complete details on your email. Thank you, Gayatri. We have done up with the questions. And again, thank you for your time today. I
Sure.
have a
Thank you,
special
everyone.
Yes, I have a special announcement. We are running a special offer on Microsoft Power BI Data Analyst program and also on few more courses. This is the industry's have a big discount. It is the premium discount. To know more, you can visit on our website. Me and my team will also send you the email. You can reply us back. If in case you have any friend or colleague looking for the training, you can also suggest them. I have also added my LinkedIn profile and company details. If anyone want to know more, can connect with me directly. So when it comes on upskilling and reskilling, CCS Learning Academy is designed to be your organization's secret weapon. Our network of talented and passionate professional instructors are ready and waiting to work directly with you and your team. If you are new to IT or seasoned professional, we offer a wide range of courses for your needs. If you need more information, please contact us. On behalf of CCS and our instructor Gayatri, we would like to thank you for your attention on this important training session today. Hope you enjoyed the session. Looking forward to you all for joining our future webinars. Stay safe out there. Thank you very much.